Hi guys, this is Karthik Arora. Welcome back to another video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do subscribe. So guys, in this video I'll be discussing a very nice data structure, that is hash maps or hash sets. I will be discussing hash set, but the same concept can be extended to hash maps also. So the motivation problem is that we would like to design a data structure that can support big O of 1 operations. So we would like to design a data structure that can support big O of 1 insertion time, big O of 1 time complexity removes, and big O of 1 time finding. Okay, search or find. We want to design a data structure. Let's for now focus that our data is only going to be simple integers. However, I assure you that the concept can very easily be extended to any data type. So we are interested in designing a data structure that can store a lot of integers, and whenever you want to add a new integer to your data structure, the insert must be O1. If you want to remove an integer from a data structure, the remove must be O1. And if you want to find an integer, whether an integer is present or not in your in your data structure, then that also has to be O1. So this is the data structure we are motivated to design. So I'll show you sample implementation that we are going to do. So this is the thing that we're going to implement. Yeah. In this particular code, we would like to implement this class hash set. This is a data structure that is going to maintain a lot of integers. It will allow me to insert an integer x into the data structure in big O of 1 time. Similarly, remove and find. Find will say, okay, integer x is present or not by returning a yes or a no. This is the class we would like to implement in this particular video. Let's see how we can come up with some nice design that is fast and efficient. Okay. Also, one more constraint I would like to add. You can assume that you will not be adding any integer again. Okay, so your hash set will contain only distinct integers, and you just need to care about distinct integers. Even if the user wants to add an integer again into the hash set, then you will not be bothered about adding it again. So you will only be storing distinct occurrences of integers, or only the unique integers. So let's think about an array implementation. An arrays can, or vectors can support these kind of operations, isn't it? So let's think about how fast a vector will perform if I try to have all these operations. So let's say I try to use a vector for all this. Then insert can be easily O1, because I could simply push back into the vector and my insert can be O1. But how about find? Find will be big O of when, because you will have to traverse the entire vector to find whether an element is present or not. Similarly, remove also will be big O of n, because you will have to traverse the entire vector first to check whether an element is present or not, and if it is present in your vector, then you will have to remove it. And for removing something from a vector, you will have to shift all the elements, right? So if this is the entry that you want to remove, you will have to push all these elements backwards. So this is not good. We are far away from what we want. But what if I keep my vector always sorted? In that particular scenario, my find can become log n, because I can apply binary search to find the element. But then again, insert and remove will be affected, because for inserting I will have to do an insertion to a sort kind of thing, and it will take me on time to put the element at the correct position and then shift all the other elements to the right. Okay, so insert will be big O of n in that particular case if I keep my vector sorted. Even the find will become log n. So if I always keep my vector sorted, then I'm going to achieve this. My find will be log n, but both of these, if insert and remove, are still going to be n. So again, that's not good. Now let's think about a self-balancing binary search tree. So a self-balancing BST. Okay, I hope that you're aware of it. If you're not, you can skip this particular part and the remaining video will still be understandable. But if you're aware of it, then let's see how good will a self-balancing binary search tree represent. This is a self-balancing string BST. Okay. So in these kind of structures, your insert, delete, and find all are all are as costly as the height of the tree. And in a self-balancing binary search tree, the height of the tree is big of log n, of the order of log of the number of nodes in the tree. So all these operations will be log n. So this is a much better improvement over your vector approach, but still not the best. Now before I actually move to the proper concept of hash sets, here is a challenge for you. You need to design a data structure that will work in big of 1 time complexity for insert, delete, and find. Given that your integers, assume that the data type you have to handle is integer, and all your integers are less than equal to 10 power 6. This is a constraint. Any integer that the user will ever want to add is of this particular range. And you would like to design a data structure that can perform in big of 1 time insert, delete, and find. And you can assume that you only need to keep the unique occurrences. If user tries to insert an element which is already present, you can simply ignore the request. So this is a challenge for you. This particular thing is easy. You can pause the video, think about it, and then I will tell you the solution to this. So the solution to this is very easy. What you have to do is you have to keep an array, a boolean array maybe, and the indices of this array, these will represent whether a particular element is present or not. So you can have this have a boolean array, okay, and this will act as a data structure. And let's say that the ith entry of this array, a of I, equals to 1. This means I is present in your data structure. And if the ith entry is 0, then that means I is not present in your data structure. So let's say that the user tells you to insert an element maybe X into your data structure. So all you need to do is, let's call this particular array ds. All you need to do is ds at x equals to 1. Let's say user tells you to find whether x is in your array or not. Then you will simply check whether ds the xth element of this array is 1 or not. If it is 1, then it is present, otherwise it is not present. And finally, let's say if the user tells you to remove the remove x from the data structure, then you will say okay, data structure at x equals to 0. So you see that this is very efficient. It's big of 1 for each and every operation, but here we have a constraint that our elements have to be from the range 1 to 10 power 6. That is something that we don't want. We would like to allow elements to be as large as 10 power 9, 10 power 18, and leave just integers. We would like to allow any kind of data type, right? Now let's try to think of some solutions in which I could use the same array again and again, and my array size will be limited, but I will somehow be able to handle larger integers also. So let's say that I have an array of size maybe n, and I will use this particular array somehow even for the larger numbers. And this is going to be the concept or the getting into the idea for the hash sets. This is the general idea. Hash sets used to be fast and optimal. And now I'll be introducing you to two new things which will help us to build a good data structure. First thing is a hash function. Second is buckets. These are two things that I'm going to introduce to you now. So instead of the array, in array I had individual places to say yes or no. It was a boolean array. So in a hash set, what I'm going to say is that instead of having an array of n-1 integers, I will say that I have an array of n-1 buckets. Okay. So let's say that this is bucket number 0, bucket number 1, so on till bucket number n-1. Okay. Assume that this is a data structure that we are going to design. These are buckets. They are numbered from 0 to n-1, and I have n buckets. As we saw in the challenge problem, we had n minus 1 integers or boolean variables which said yes or no. Let's see how these buckets will be used through the help of this hash function. So let's say that you want to insert an element, maybe x, into a data structure. Okay, these buckets can hold a lot of integers. That is the main idea here. What their design will be, that we will think about later, but currently we're trying to follow up on the challenge problem and use these buckets. So if let's say I want to insert x into my data structure, and let's say that x is less than equal to n or less than n. Okay, then I can follow a strategy in which I will say, okay, I will put x in the bucket number x. So x will go to bx, the xth bucket. And that's possible because this particular bucket does exist. And let's say next time someone asks me whether x is in my data structure or not, I will simply be checking whether the bucket number x contains x or not. This means that I would be saved from the overhead of checking whether x is there in bucket 0, bucket 1, and I will not need to check in any other bucket other than bucket number x whether x is present or not. So that's okay, I can insert x. How about larger numbers? What happens when x is greater than n, greater than equal to n, or x is less than 0, something like that? Which bucket do I add x, insert x into if there is such a case? So here is this concept of hash functions. Hash functions basically take some data and they map them to an integer in the range 0 to something we specify. So let's just say that a hash function will do this. It will take some data f is my hash function, and f takes some data. It could be integers, it could be anything. Okay, so hash function will take the data, and corresponding to this data, hash function will generate an integer in the range 0 to n minus 1, and depending upon the hash function we can specify what we would like our n to be. Okay, so and every time the same data is used, hash function will always generate the same integer. So if I try to find out f of 5 and it gives me maybe 7, then if I try to find out f of 5 again, it will still give me 7. So the idea here is that my hash function will take some data and map it to an integer in the range 0 to n minus 1. Let's see how this thing can help us. And the important property here for hash function will be that if you try to evaluate a hash of some data item, and in the future you try to evaluate hash of that same data item again, then you will get the same values both the times. The values will not be the values will not change over time. For the same data item, hash function will produce the same result. Now let's see what we can do. We saw that, okay, we can design a data structure that has n minus 1 buckets, and I will try to design such a data structure. Let's say this is my data structure which has n minus 1 buckets. These buckets can hold a lot of data. They can hold integers, they could hold any kind of data I want. And let's say for now integers, so these buckets can hold any number of integers. This bucket can hold any integers, this one can also hold, and so on. And how we will be designing these buckets is up to us. Now let's say that the user tells you to insert an item in this particular data structure, and you want to insert x into this data structure. Here is what you will do. You will calculate the hash of x. It will be an integer from 0 to n minus 1. Even if x was greater than very large or negative or something, if hash of x will always be an integer from the range 0 to n minus 1. And whatever is this particular integer, you are going to insert, let's say this particular value turns out to be y. Then you will take the bucket y and you will insert x into the yth bucket. And how does this help us in the future? In the future, if user wants to find whether x is in your data structure or not, all you need to check is whether, first of all, you have to evaluate what is the hash of x. and let's say hash of x comes out to be y. Now you will know that if x is present in my data structure, it is in the bucket number y, otherwise it is not. So this saves you from searching n minus 1 buckets. Okay, you just need to look into one bucket now. So this is a very this is something very faster than before. Okay, so this is going to make your things very efficient, and this is the idea which is going to help us reach big O of 1 on average. So I'm going to discuss a basic implementation now. So let me have a hash function, a very simple hash function. I will not call this to be a good hash function. I'll say hash function is x mod n, and I'm going to have my buckets. These buckets are supposed to store large amounts of data. Okay, so I have this initially these buckets. Okay, 0th bucket, second, first, second, third, fourth. Let's say n equals to 8. Then whatever integer you want to insert, x mod 8 is going to be from 0 to 7. So let's say you want to insert some integer, and these things points to the buckets. This points to the 0th bucket, first bucket, and till here. Let's see how we can design our buckets. So let's say that you want to insert the following items in your data structure. Let's say you want to add x equals to 1. It's simple. 1 mod 8 equals to 1. So I will add 1 here. That's cool. Then again, let's say you want to add x equals to 5 to your data structure. That is also all right. You can add it here. Now assume that you want to add 10 to your data structure. Then x equals to 10. 10 mod 10 mod 8 equals to 2, and you can add 10 here. So till now no problem. Let's say you want to insert 13 into your data structure maybe. Now x equals to 13 and 13 mod 8 equals to 5. This means that you should insert it into your 5th bucket, but you already have an item there. So what we're going to do is, each of my bucket, I can design it at some data structure itself. So let's say that I design my every bucket as a linked list. Okay, so each of my bucket will be a linked list now, so that I'm able to hold more than one integer. And a scenario like this, that more than 2 people want to go in the same bucket, is known as a collision. Okay, so a scenario in which more than 2 data objects want to go to the same bucket is known as a collision. So what you will do is that if your bucket is a linked list, you can simply say, okay, to the end of the bucket add 13, and that is good. That's fast. In fact, even if you had to check whether 13 is already present in your data structure or not, you would only need to check this particular bucket and nothing else. Because if 13 is there, it will be in this bucket, otherwise it is not there. So we already have an idea, and we're going to model our data structure with a hash function and a lot of buckets, and each of my bucket is going to be a linked list. We will analyze the time complexity later. First, let's implement this thing so things become more clear to you. So as discussed, we're going to have some buckets, and we're going to have like some n number of buckets and a hash function. Let me say, okay, structure bucket and each of my bucket is a linked list. I could say, okay, it can also be a vector maybe. So each of my bucket is a vector, simple as that. And my hash set is a collection of buckets, maybe n minus 1 buckets, and the hash set also has a hash function. So I can say it's an array of buckets, integer bucket, and maybe let's have some 100 buckets maybe for now. So I can say integer number of buckets, and let's keep this a pointer. I will initialize it in the constructor. Okay, so whenever hash set is being constructed, the user can pass how many buckets he wants, So integer num of buckets required. The user will tell what is the number of buckets required. Okay, and as asked by the user, we will allocate that many buckets. I'm sorry about this. This has to be bucket star. So because the type of the array is bucket, and I'm gonna say call this my container. And let's build a new array consisting of buckets. So new bucket, and we want how many buckets? This has to be an array here, and we want buckets required, and I'll say okay, number of buckets equals to buckets required as given by the user. And this is the constructor. This will declare an array of buckets as required by the user. The user will tell how many buckets he wants for his use, and it should be clear to you that the more the buckets the user has, the better will be, the more efficient the data structure will be. However, the more memory also it will occupy. Okay, and this is okay. Let's see what happens with insert. I need to have a hash function now. So let me implement a hash function. It will return an integer. It will take some data. It will insert what this particular data maps to. I will keep a very simple hash function here. Although in reality, the real implementations in C++ or Java use complicated hash functions. In fact, even we can implement them if we'd like. We can provide our custom hash functions. However, for here we're trying to understand how hash maps work. So I will keep a very simple hash function. The designing of hash functions is not in the scope of this video. Okay, so we have this simple hash function. This will return me a number from 0 to number of buckets minus 1, and that's cool. Every value will hash to some bucket. Let's say now that you want to add an item to your structure. So what you can do is you can simply say that integer b number this thing hash, and the bucket number to which x hashes to. This is the bucket number I want to insert x in, and I will say okay, container dot, let me define a add here in the container. First of all, I should check whether x is present in v or not. If it is not, then I will insert x into v. So if v dot I think vectors do support v dot find, but it is big O of n. So if v dot find x equal to v dot end, in that case x is not in my vector, I should add it. Then I can say okay, v dot push back x, and I've added this new integer x to my bucket. Similarly, I can have void remove integer x, deleting x from your vector. So I guess v dot erase should be there. Yep, it takes constant iterator position, so I can say v dot find, and the iterator, this will be erased. Unless if it is not present, I should not do anything, right? So if v dot find equals to v dot end, I should return simply, because x is not there, so I don't need to remove it. If v dot find equals to v dot end, then simply return. You don't need to do much. Since the item is not there, you cannot delete anything. And v dot erase, that's it. So we have already implemented add and remove. Okay, so there is no member named find in a vector, so there has to be something to find it. Either I can loop through all the elements, which I don't really want to do. Other than that, what can I do? Alright, so even if the vector does not have find on its own, there is a find algorithm in C++, and you can say find v dot begin comma v dot end comma x. If this thing is found, yep, if we find x in our vector, then this will return me the iterator to the position. Otherwise it will return me v dot end. So if this returns me v dot end, then it's not in the vector, it's not present in the vector. And this is the big O of n operation, because to find something in the vector you have to loop through all the elements unless the vector is sorted. Then you can use binary search. Okay, so till here it must be understandable, I guess. Yep. And finally we can also implement boolean find. This is for this particular bucket. If this is equal to v dot end, then that means x is not present in the bucket, otherwise it is. So if this equals to this, then it's not present, otherwise present. So we're done designing this thing. Okay, cool. No matching function for call to bucket find. All right. But I guess find is a C++ algorithm. I'll just check online. Let's see. Find in C++. We will use the best resource ever. So it says you can do std find vec.begin vec.end, sir, and it should return something, right? Cool. So there does exist something like that. Then why is it saying bucket find not found? Maybe std. If this works, then it's cool. Yep, it's working. Yep, so we have made our container proper. Now what we can do is we can have container dot add x, and we are done. For remove, we can have find the bucket number in which this element should be present, if at all it is present. And I can say okay, container at that particular bucket number dot remove, because if this item is there, then it is in the bucket number b number, otherwise it's not there. So I just need to check one bucket now. Okay, and I'll say remove, and finally find. If it's present anywhere, then it will be in the b number bucket, otherwise x is not there. So I will evaluate the hash function of hash value of x. If it's present in my data structure there, then it has to be in this particular bucket number. And I'll say okay, return this dot find x. Yeah, I named it find. Cool. So guys, that's it. We are done writing a data structure, and this will work good enough. So let's just take a small example now. Let's say I declare a hash set hs, and I say I need 10 buckets maybe. Okay, then I can have hs dot insert 10. Let's make it 12. I can say hs dot insert 5. And let's try to find out if 3 is there or not. So hs dot find 3. And it's saying yes, it is there. How about finding 2? It says no, 2 is not there. It returns 0. How about 12? It says it is there. Now let's remove 5 and try to find 5 again. So it says 5 is not there. This means remove is working all properly. So guys, this was the basic idea. Let's analyze this approach and see if we can further optimize it. Now this is the most important part of the video according to me. So we saw there are these buckets. Okay. Now on an average, let's assume that for every bucket there are k collisions. That means each bucket has k elements. So the elements totally the elements will, this is not the worst case, I am assuming a good average case in which the elements will spread out equally in all the buckets. Then I am assuming that there will be, if there are a total of n elements overall, then per bucket there will be, if there are maybe let's say there are some b number of buckets, then per bucket there will be n by b elements. Let's call it k. This is the number of elements per bucket. And now if I want to find in one of the buckets, the time complexity is going to be big O of k, which is approximately big O of n by b. And if you have reasonably large number of buckets compared to the number of elements that you're inserting, this will be on average big O of 1. So the larger is the number of buckets, the better will be your, or the more efficient will be your data structure. Similarly for inserting and removing also, the time complexity is going to be big O of k, and k equals to total number of elements in your data structure divided by the number of buckets. So this is good, this is quite efficient. But now we will think, can we replace this particular bucket by a better data structure so that our thing becomes, our overall data structure becomes better than this. So we want to make this particular factor better. Instead of big of k, I would like this to be something even better. So the idea for improving this is that instead of modeling each of the bucket as a linked list, instead of modeling it like this, I will model each of the bucket as a self-balancing binary search tree. So the buckets themselves, if this is, let's say, some bucket number bx, then this bucket will get k elements in total. Out of all the n elements, it will get n by b equal to k elements to hold. It will organize those elements as a binary search tree, okay, a self-balancing binary search tree. Okay, now in this particular bucket, if you want to look for an element, whether it's present or not, since there are k elements here, it's going to be big O of log k. Okay, and k equals to n by b. So we have improved by replacing each of the bucket, instead of a linked list or a vector, we have replaced each of the bucket by a self-balancing binary search tree, or in simple words, a set int. Okay, it's nothing but a self-balancing binary search tree, and your complexity goes from big O of k was the average number of collisions, to big O of log k. And inserting also will become big O of log k, and again deleting will also become big O of log k only. Okay, so all the operations have been toned down to log k. If you increase the number of buckets, k will decrease, and you're like for a very small number you will be taking the log also. So this all is nearly as good as constant time operations. And that is it. We have designed our hash set, and this is exactly, or almost the way Java implements hash maps in internally. Okay, this is the actual way they implement it. Let me just quickly show you how we can model our buckets as self-balancing binary search trees. So I'm not going to implement self-balancing binary search trees. To be honest, I don't know how to, at least not now. So instead of vector, I'll keep a set. Instead of having this add function, I'll say v dot insert x. Instead of having this remove function, I will have v dot erase x. And instead of having this find function, I will have return v dot find x equal to v dot end. If this thing is true, then return 0. That means it's not present, otherwise return to true. And guys, this is your hash set. That's it, that's done. The only thing, one of them, like, there are things that are done better in the actual implementations of the Java hash map, but in C++ unordered set, the worst case is big O of n for a hash map. Whereas for our implementation here, the worst case is big O of log n. The worst case happens when all the items collide or hash to the same bucket. In that case, our implementation actually becomes a self-balancing binary search tree only. Whereas for an unordered set in C++, the worst case becomes a linked list of length big O of n. So this is, in the worst scenario, this is better than an unordered set in C++. The good thing in these languages is that these hash functions are very optimally made, and there is a lot of math going on behind what should be an optimal hash function. But then again, this was to study of how things work, and we have designed this very simple implementation which can be used as a hash set or a hash map. So guys, if you found this helpful, make sure that you like, share and subscribe. I would be happy to know that this thing helped you in the comments. Okay, if you have any improvement or some other thing related to this, make sure that you add that in the comments as well. So thanks for watching.